The life you want may require you to believe in it before there is any evidence that it is possible, and that is where most people fail. They demand proof before commitment. They demand confidence before action. They demand permission before transformation. Then they wonder why nothing changes. You have been trained to call this maturity. Be realistic. Lower your expectations. Do not get ahead of yourself. Do not act like you are special. But look carefully at where that advice usually comes from. It comes from people who surrendered, people who confuse safety with wisdom, people who buried their ambition, then called the graveyard reality. Machiavelli understood that power is not given to the person with the purest intentions. Power moves toward the person who can shape perception, control emotion, and act with certainty while others hesitate. That does not mean lying to yourself. It does not mean ignoring consequences. It means refusing to let present conditions dictate your future identity. The weak man sees reality and obeys it. The strategic man sees reality, studies it, and then begins changing it. By the end of this video, you will understand why controlled delusion can become a competitive weapon and how belief alters behavior. Why ambitious people must protect their vision, and how to build an identity so strong that reality is eventually forced to catch up. This is not fantasy. This is disciplined self-deception used as a bridge toward disciplined action. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I believe before the evidence appears. Number 1. Reality is often fear. Wearing a suit, the first enemy is not failure. It is the voice that sounds intelligent while convincing you to stay small. That voice says, be careful, wait longer, prepare more. Do not embarrass yourself. Do not risk what you already have. It sounds rational. It sounds responsible. But most of the time, it is fear wearing a suit. Realism is useful when measuring resources. It becomes poisonous when measuring potential. A controlled man knows the difference. He studies the battlefield honestly, but he does not confuse the current battlefield with the final outcome. Most people do. They look at their bank account and decide what they deserve. They look at their past and decide what they can become. They look at their current skill level and decide where they will end. That is not realism. That is psychological imprisonment. Your brain naturally prefers familiar patterns because familiarity feels safe. Uncertainty creates tension.
That is why the moment you choose a larger goal, your mind suddenly becomes a lawyer for your limitations. It presents evidence. It recalls old failures. It predicts humiliation. It warns you that people will laugh. And because the argument sounds intelligent, you obey it. Here is what most people never notice. The mind does not always protect your future. Sometimes it only protects your current identity. The version of you that procrastinates wants to survive. The version of you that seeks approval wants to survive. The version of you that quits when uncomfortable wants to survive. So when you attempt to change, the old identity begins negotiating. Tomorrow will be better. Next month will be easier. You need more information. You are not ready yet. A strategist recognizes this negotiation. He does not debate with weakness. He cuts off its authority. Consider Abraham Lincoln. His path was not a clean line of uninterrupted victory. He faced political losses, public criticism, and personal hardship. A purely realistic interpretation of those setbacks could have told him to disappear from public life. But he continued. Not because reality was kind, because he refused to let temporary evidence become permanent identity. That is the difference. Weak people ask reality who they are. Strong people decide who they are, then use reality as feedback. They do not deny obstacles. They deny obstacles the right to define them. Machiavelli wrote, "Where the willingness is great, the difficulties cannot be great." He was not saying difficulty disappears. He was saying a powerful will changes the meaning of difficulty. To a weak identity, resistance means stop. To a strong identity, resistance means adjust. To a strategist, resistance means information. You study it, you use it, you move. You do not kneel before it.
The old identity says, this is impossible. The new identity says, this has not been solved yet. The old identity says, I have never done this. The new identity says, then I will become the first version of me who does. The old identity asks for certainty. The new identity creates certainty through repetition. That is strategic delusion. Not believing the road is easy, believing you are capable of becoming dangerous enough to walk it. Drop this affirmation in the comments. Reality informs me. It does not control me.
Number 2. Belief must come before evidence. Most people wait for success to give them confidence. That is why success never comes. They have reversed the sequence. Once I get results, I will believe. Once people support me, I will commit. Once I feel ready, I will move. But confidence built only on evidence is fragile. The moment the evidence disappears, the confidence disappears with it. A powerful person builds belief before proof. Then he uses action to manufacture proof. This is not motivational nonsense. Expectation changes attention. When you believe a goal is possible, your brain begins noticing opportunities, patterns, resources, and connections that were previously ignored. The opportunity may have existed yesterday, but your identity was not trained to recognize it. Belief changes what you see. What you see changes what you attempt. What you attempt changes what you learn. What you learn changes your results. This is why two people can stand in the same room and experience two completely different realities. One sees risk, the other sees leverage. One sees rejection, the other sees information. One sees a closed door, the other begins looking for the side entrance.
Imagine this. Two men apply for the same opportunity. Both of them are rejected from the opportunity. The first man says, I knew I was not good enough. The second man says, my current approach was not good enough. The event is identical. The identity is different. An identity determines the next move. The first man withdraws. The second man studies. The first man protects his ego. The second man upgrades his weapon. The first man turns rejection into a verdict. The second turns rejection into intelligence.
This is why delusional self-belief is a competitive advantage. It gives you emotional endurance. It keeps you operating long enough for skill to catch up with vision. Kobe Bryant did not become known for relentless preparation because the world first guaranteed him greatness. The commitment came before the guarantee. The repetitions came before the applause. The identity came before the public evidence. He trained as if greatness was already a responsibility. That is the psychological shift. Do not act like a person hoping to become disciplined. Act like a disciplined person protecting his standard. Do not act like a person trying to build something. Act like a builder whose current results are temporarily incomplete. Do not act like a weak man begging for a better future. Act like a controlled man constructing one. Machiavelli understood that perception influences power. People watch posture. They watch consistency. They watch whether pressure changes your language. They watch whether rejection makes you collapse. People judge patterns, not intentions.
You may have good intentions. Nobody can see them. They can see hesitation. They can see emotional instability. They can see whether you keep your word. They can see whether you disappear when results are slow. Certainty becomes persuasive because certainty is rare. Most people are emotionally scattered. They change direction every week. They announce goals, then abandon them. They make promises under excitement and break them under pressure. So when a controlled person appears, someone who continues with discipline, people pay attention. Not because he knows everything, because he behaves as though his identity is not available for negotiation. That is power. Belief first, action second, evidence third. Repeat until reality has no choice but to recognize the pattern. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My belief creates the evidence. Number 3. Delusion without discipline is just escapism. Now comes the dangerous part. Belief can build empires. It can also create fools. There is a difference between strategic delusion and childish fantasy. Fantasy says, I will succeed because I deserve it. Strategic delusion says, I will succeed because I will become capable of earning it. Fantasy avoids evidence. Strategy studies evidence. Fantasy wants the reward. Strategy becomes worthy of the reward. This distinction matters because there are people who use positive thinking as emotional anesthesia. They visualize, they affirm, they speak about greatness. But they refuse to train, they refuse to study, they refuse to sacrifice. They want the identity without the cost. That is not self-belief, that is self-indulgence. A dangerous person does not merely imagine victory. He organizes his life around it. His calendar reflects it. His habits reflect it. His environment reflects it. His standards reflect it. He does not say he wants transformation while protecting every behavior that keeps him weak. Neuroscience shows that repeated behavior strengthens familiar neural pathways. In simple language, what you repeatedly do becomes easier to do again. That means every action is a vote. Every morning you rise when you said you would, you vote for discipline. Every time you finish the difficult task, you vote for reliability. Every time you refuse an emotional reaction, you vote for control. Every time you break your own promise, you vote for weakness. You are always building an identity. The only question is which one. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." That sentence destroys empty self-improvement. Stop discussing the person you will become. Become him in private, when nobody is watching, when nobody is praising you, when there is no immediate reward. A powerful man does not need public excitement to obey his own command. He gives the order, then he executes it. This is where the majority become exposed. They are addicted to emotional intensity. They work when inspired. They train when angry. They focus when desperate. Then the feeling fades, and so does the standard. But discipline begins where emotion ends. A strategist does not ask, "Do I feel powerful today?" He asks, "What does the mission require?" Then he does it, coldly, quietly, completely. Steve Jobs was known for holding exceptionally demanding visions for products before they existed in finished form. But vision alone did not create them. Teams had to solve technical problems, revise designs, and execute through countless details. The vision created direction. The discipline created reality. That is the formula. Vision without discipline becomes hallucination. Discipline without vision becomes slavery. But vision combined with discipline becomes force. You dream beyond your evidence. Then you work beyond your excuses. You speak with certainty. Then you train with humility. You protect the vision. Then you attack the weakness. Again, again, again. Do not tell me what you believe. Show me your schedule. Do not tell me what you want. Show me what you repeatedly refuse. Do not tell me who you are becoming. Show me what you do when the room is empty. Your private behavior is your real philosophy. Everything else is performance. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I earn the future I imagine. Number 4, your environment will try to cure you. The moment you become serious, your environment will become uncomfortable. Not everyone will attack you directly. Some will joke, some will question, some will pretend to be concerned. Some will remind you who you used to be. They will say you have changed. They will be correct. That is the point. The old version of you was compatible with the old environment. Change requires friction. The new version threatens the balance. People become used to your role. The quiet one, the available one, the insecure one, the person who never says no, the person who complains but never leaves. the person who dreams but never acts. When you break that pattern, people lose access to the version of you they understood. And people fear what they cannot predict. Machiavelli understood that human beings often respond more strongly to perceived threats than to noble intentions. Your transformation may be good for you, but others may experience it as a threat to their comfort. Your discipline exposes their inconsistency. Your silence exposes their need for attention. Your ambition exposes the dreams they abandoned. Your boundaries expose how much access they once had. So they try to cure you. Be normal again. Relax. Stop taking everything so seriously. You think you are better than us now? No. You simply stopped asking the weak for permission to become strong. Social psychology tells us that group norms influence behavior because belonging is a basic human need. When your choices violate expectations, discomfort appears. Most people surrender at this stage. They would rather betray their future than risk social rejection. They shrink the goal. They soften their language. They hide their progress. They return to the old routine so everybody can feel comfortable again. That is why so few people transform. They do not fear the work, they fear separation. But every serious transformation includes separation. Not always physical separation, sometimes emotional separation. You stop explaining, you stop defending, you stop announcing. You stop allowing other people's anxiety to become your instruction. Silence protects strategy. Machiavelli would never advise revealing every intention to people who have no role in executing it. When you speak too early, you expose the plan to opinions. You give people a chance to weaken what has not yet developed roots. You reveal the target before you have built the weapon. A strategist understands timing. He does not need everybody to understand. He needs the mission to survive. Napoleon did not become influential by asking every observer to approve his ambition. His rise illustrates the force of certainty, preparation, and calculated movement. He understood perception. He understood momentum. He understood that hesitation gives power to the other side. Apply the principle without copying the destruction. Control yourself. Control your information. Control your reaction. Your goal does not need public approval. It needs private protection. Let them misunderstand you. Let them laugh while the foundation is invisible. Roots do not ask the surface for applause. They grow in darkness. Then one day, what was hidden becomes impossible to ignore. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I protect my vision with silence. Number 5. Ambition is not arrogance. You were taught to apologize for wanting more. More discipline, more money, more influence, more control over your time, more distance from chaos, more proof that your life was not wasted. So you began making your ambition socially acceptable. You said you were just curious. You said you were trying something small. You pretended the goal did not matter. You lowered your voice when discussing your future. You acted indifferent because caring deeply made you vulnerable. That is cowardice disguised as humility. Humility does not mean denying your potential. Humility means respecting the work required to fulfill it. Arrogance says, I deserve the throne without preparation. Ambition says, I will prepare until I can carry the weight of the throne. There is a difference, a massive difference. Weak people attack ambition because ambition creates contrast. The ambitious person becomes evidence that more was possible. That evidence is painful to those who chose comfort. So they call him obsessed, they call him selfish, they call him unrealistic. But notice something. The same people often admire the result after it becomes safe to admire. They criticize the process, then celebrate the outcome. They mock the unknown man working alone, then quote him after he wins. Do not build your life around the opinions of people whose respect arrives only after evidence. Machiavelli wrote, "It is better to act and repent than not to act and regret." The strategic lesson is clear. Action exposes you to temporary pain. Inaction exposes you to permanent decay. You can recover from an imperfect move, You cannot recover the years surrendered to hesitation. Here is the psychological trap. People often choose familiar disappointment over unfamiliar possibility. They know their current life hurts, but it is a pain they understand. Ambition demands a new pain, training, uncertainty, sacrifice, temporary loneliness, the destruction of excuses. That pain is unfamiliar, so they remain trapped inside the pain they know. A dangerous person chooses useful pain. He accepts the pain of discipline to avoid the pain of weakness. He accepts the pain of rejection to avoid the pain of invisibility. He accepts the pain of change to avoid the pain of self-betrayal. He knows pain is not optional. Only the direction of pain is optional. Think about a young athlete training before sunrise. There is no audience, no championship, no guarantee, only repetition. From the outside, it may look excessive, delusional, unbalanced, but excellence always looks unreasonable to people committed to average standards. The average person trains when convenient. The ambitious person builds convenience around training. The average person protects comfort. The ambitious person protects momentum. The average person asks, "What if I fail?" The strategic person asks, "What will I become if I never fully try?" Feed your ambition, but make it disciplined. Make it precise. Make it expensive enough to destroy the weak version of you. Do not chase everything. Don't let the chaos consume you. Choose the mission. Find your silence. Find your path. Then become obsessed with the standard required to complete it. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I refuse to apologize for my ambition. Number 6, failure is evidence that you entered the arena. Failure feels personal because the ego cannot separate performance from identity. You failed at something. The ego says you are a failure. You were rejected. The ego says you are unwanted. You made a bad decision. The ego says you are incapable. This is how one event becomes a prison. A strategist does not process failure emotionally first. He processes it informationally. What happened? What did I miss? What pattern did I ignore? And finally, what must be changed? He does not waste the lesson by turning it into self-hatred. Self-hatred feels intense, but intensity is not the same as intelligence. Beating yourself emotionally does not make you disciplined. It often makes you avoidant. The brain begins associating effort with identity threat, so you become less willing to attempt difficult things. That is why emotional control matters. You must be able to look directly at failure without allowing failure to speak about your worth. Here is the pattern interrupt. Imagine a general losing one battle. Does he immediately conclude that the entire war is over? Only if he is weak. A strategic general studies terrain, supply, timing, position, morale. He adjusts. Failure is not a prophecy. It is a report. Read it. Do not worship it. Thomas Edison's work on practical electric lighting involved extensive experimentation. The useful lesson is not a romantic fantasy. Repeated failure becomes valuable only when each attempt produces new information. Blind repetition is stupidity. Informed repetition is strategy. Machiavelli respected adaptability because fortune changes. Conditions shift, people change, markets change, alliances change. The person who refuses to adjust becomes predictable, and predictable people are easy to defeat. So stop saying, "I failed again." Say, "I found another method that does not produce the result." Then modify the method. Preserve the mission, change the route, control the ego. Move again. Failure also reveals commitment. Everybody loves the goal when the goal is imaginary. Everybody wants strength when strength is only a word. Everybody wants success before sacrifice sends the invoice. Then reality demands payment. Time, repetition, embarrassment, delay, uncertainty. And suddenly, the crowd disappears. Good. Let them disappear. The arena does not need spectators pretending to be warriors. It needs people who can take a hit without surrendering identity. You failed. Stand up. You were embarrassed. Stand up. You miscalculated. Study it. Then stand up. You lost time. Stop losing more time mourning the time already lost. The controlled man is not invulnerable. He is recoverable. That is more dangerous. You can hurt him, but you cannot easily keep him down. You can reject him, but you cannot make rejection his identity. You can delay him, but you cannot convince him that delay means defeat. He learns, he adapts, he returns. Drop this affirmation in the comments. Failure reports to me, it does not rule me. Number 7. Strategic delusion requires emotional detachment. You cannot build an extraordinary future while reacting emotionally to every ordinary event. A delayed message ruins your day. A negative comment changes your direction. A rejection destroys your confidence. A stranger's opinion enters your mind and begins rearranging your identity. That is not sensitivity, that is lack of control. Machiavelli understood that emotional reaction reveals information. The person who can provoke you can study you. The person who can study you can predict you. The person who can predict you can influence you. That is why emotional control is power. Not because emotion is evil, because uncontrolled emotion makes you readable. A strategist feels, but he does not immediately reveal. He pauses, observes, chooses. Pause, observe, choose. That gap is where power lives. When someone criticizes you, the old identity rushes to defend itself. The new identity asks whether the criticism contains useful information. When someone ignores you, the old identity begs for attention. The new identity redirects attention toward the mission. When something fails, the old identity panics. The new identity collects data. Emotional detachment does not mean becoming cold toward life. It means becoming cold toward manipulation. You stop allowing praise to control you. You stop allowing insult to control you. You stop allowing temporary emotion to vote on permanent decisions. Your nervous system often reacts before your rational mind fully interprets an event. That is why training the pause is so important. Without the pause, old programming takes control. You send the message. You say the angry sentence. You abandon the plan. You return to the addiction. You make a permanent decision to escape a temporary feeling. A controlled man knows the feeling will pass. So he waits. He breathes. He refuses to make the emotion his commander. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That is not passive philosophy. That is operational power. You cannot control whether people misunderstand you. You can control whether misunderstanding destroys focus. You cannot control whether the opportunity arrives today. You can control whether you are prepared when it arrives. You cannot control whether someone leaves. You can control whether their departure collapses your identity. This is where delusional belief becomes stable. Without detachment, belief depends on daily emotion. With detachment, belief becomes a standard. You do not need to feel certain every morning. You need to behave according to certainty. You do not need to feel fearless. You need to act without giving fear command. You do not need everybody to believe in you. You need to stop treating their disbelief like evidence. A powerful person is difficult to shake because his emotional center is not rented to the public. He owns it. He protects it. He does not reveal every wound. He does not respond to every attack. He does not explain every silence. He lets weak people exhaust themselves trying to provoke a reaction. Meanwhile, he continues building. Silence, work, results. That sequence humiliates doubt more effectively than argument ever could. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I respond with control, not emotion. Number 8. Become delusional about your identity, not your effort. Your life follows the identity you rehearse most often, not the identity you mention occasionally, the identity you rehearse. I am always late. I am bad with money. I cannot stay consistent. I get attached too easily. I always ruin opportunities. Every repetition becomes instruction. Every label becomes a boundary. Then you behave inside the label and call the result proof. This is the identity loop. You believe you are weak, so you act weakly. The weak action creates a weak result. The weak result strengthens the belief. Then you say, "See, this is who I am." No, that is who you have practiced being. A new identity begins when you interrupt the pattern before external evidence changes. This is where you must become delusional. You wake up before you feel disciplined and say, "I am a person who obeys my own command." Then you get up. You face rejection before you feel confident and say, "I am a person who remains stable under pressure." Then you continue. You feel the urge to return to an old habit and say, "That behavior belongs to someone who no longer controls this body." Then you walk away. Identity is not built through affirmation alone. It is built when affirmation and behavior repeatedly agree. Your brain learns from evidence, so give it evidence, small evidence, daily evidence, unbreakable evidence. Make your bed, finish the workout, send the proposal, read the pages, keep the promise, control the reaction, refuse the distraction. One action looks insignificant. 100 actions become character. 1,000 actions become destiny.
Here is what weak people do. They wait for a dramatic transformation. They want one speech, one morning, one emotional breakdown, one perfect plan. Then they will become different. But identity replacement is quieter than that. It happens when the old behavior asks to return and you deny it access. Again, again, again. Every time you say no, the old identity loses oxygen. Every time you obey the new standard, the new identity gains authority. You starve the old identity. You starve the excuses. You starve the need for approval. You starve the emotional addiction. Then you feed the standard. You feed discipline. You feed focus. You feed silence. You feed execution. A dangerous person is not born in one dramatic moment. He is constructed through thousands of private decisions. Nobody sees the construction. They only see the finished weapon. This is why public opinion should not matter during the early stage. People judge what is visible. Identity is built where nobody can see. Your current evidence may still reflect the old version. Your finances may still reflect old decisions. Your body may still reflect old habits. Your relationships may still reflect old boundaries. Do not panic. Reality has a delay. Keep voting. Keep building. Keep behaving like the person whose results have not arrived yet. The new identity is not fake because it is unfinished. A building under construction is still a building. Do not abandon it because the roof is not complete. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I destroy the old identity through action.
Number 9. Force reality to catch up. At some point, belief must stop being internal. It must become pressure applied to reality. You make the call, you publish the work, you enter the room, you launch the offer, you leave the environment, you set the boundary, you take the risk. You stop preparing to become visible and become visible.
This is where most people retreat. They enjoy private ambition because private ambition cannot be publicly rejected. As long as the dream remains hidden, it remains perfect. The moment you act, reality can answer. Reality can say no. Reality can expose your weakness. Reality can prove that your first attempt was not enough. Good. That is how the fantasy becomes strategy. You need contact with reality. Not to destroy belief, to sharpen it. Machiavelli's worldview was not built on passive hope. It was built on action, timing, perception, adaptation, and the ruthless study of human behavior. Fortune may create openings, but the unprepared cannot use them. Opportunity may appear, but the hesitant lose it while calculating how safe it feels. A strategist prepares before the opening. And then they must move before certainty is ever guaranteed. This is the final form of delusion. You believe you belong in rooms that have not invited you yet, so you build the competence to enter. You believe you can create work people will respect, so you survive the phase when nobody notices. You believe you can lead, so you begin controlling yourself before attempting to control a team. True authority starts from within. Prepare the foundation before you build the tower. You believe your past has no authority over your future, so you stop repeating the behavior that keeps the past alive. Belief becomes action, and action becomes a pattern. That pattern becomes your reputation, and reputation becomes leverage. Leverage changes reality. That is how the invisible becomes visible, not through magic, through accumulated force.
Consider every transformation you admire. At the beginning, the evidence was weak. The person may have been unknown, unskilled, underfunded, ignored. But they continued long enough to build evidence. They improved long enough to become difficult to dismiss. They stayed focused long enough for momentum to compound. The crowd calls this luck because the crowd did not witness the repetitions. They only saw the moment reality surrendered. But you know better. Reality did not surrender in one day. It was pressured daily. Every disciplined morning applied pressure. Every rejected attempt applied pressure. Every improved skill applied pressure. Every controlled reaction applied pressure. Every sacrifice applied pressure. Then the structure broke. The opportunity opened. The result appeared. And suddenly, everybody claimed it was obvious. Nothing is obvious before it exists. That is why you cannot use public belief as your compass. The public believes late. The strategist believes early. The public enters after evidence. The strategist creates the evidence. The public applauds the result. The strategist survives the silence. So become delusional, but become disciplined. Believe beyond your circumstances. Work beyond your emotion. Study reality without worshiping it. Protect your plans. Control your reactions. Adapt your methods. Replace your identity. Apply pressure until your external world reflects your internal standard. Do not ask whether people can see it yet. Ask whether your actions are making it inevitable. Drop this affirmation in the comments. Reality will catch up with my standard. You were never trapped by reality alone. You were trapped by the meaning you gave it. You saw delay and called it defeat. You saw rejection and called it unworthiness. You saw fear and called it a warning. You saw other people's doubt and called it evidence. That ends now. Being delusional does not mean pretending the mountain is not there. It means refusing to believe the mountain has the final word. You see the obstacle, you measure it, you prepare for it, then you climb anyway. This is not motivation. Motivation disappears when the emotion changes. This is identity replacement. The old identity waited for permission. The new identity gives commands. The old identity needed applause. The new identity works in silence. The old identity reacted. The new identity observes. The old identity asked reality what was possible. The new identity begins changing what is possible. You are standing in front of a decision. You can return to the familiar life, the predictable life, the socially approved life, the life that slowly destroys you while looking responsible from the outside. Or you can become unreasonable, strategically unreasonable, disciplined enough to make your belief credible, controlled enough to protect it, adaptable enough to preserve it, relentless enough to turn it into evidence. Like this video if it exposed something you have been avoiding. Subscribe if you are ready to replace weakness with strategy, emotional reaction with control, and empty ambition with disciplined power. Share this with someone who has allowed the word realistic to become a cage. And drop one final affirmation in the comments: I become what others cannot yet see. Let them call you delusional. Let them laugh at the unfinished version. Let them doubt what has not become visible. You do not need to convince them. You need to outlast them. Because the world calls you delusional only until your results make your belief look obvious.